Lesson 9, consistency of tone. During this lesson, we're going to be bringing together some of the techniques we've covered in previous lessons, such as breath flow and control, relaxation of the body, including the neck, throat, jaw, and tongue. And we're also going to learn how to sing vowels and consonants in a certain way so that the legato, or smooth and connected line you create, is not interfered with. So let's start with a brief look at how an inconsistent flow of breath can affect your tone. For example, if you find that your voice is wavering on the longer held notes like this, la, then you're most likely exhaling with an inconsistent breath flow. This can happen when you're not entirely focused on controlling the amount of air that's exiting your body. It's important to remember that the amount of air that's passing through your vocal cords directly affects the quality and evenness of the tone you're producing. So if you're finding that the tone is shaky or inconsistent in dynamic volume or quality, it could be that you're letting your ribs drop, which in different registers will have different effects. For instance, too much air on the top notes results in a breathy tone, which may be inconsistent with the quality of tone you're producing in your lower register. Remember, those high notes need less air. Also on the higher notes, for example, you may find that due to your lack of breath at the end of the phrase, you begin to lose the energy required to keep you up there, and you may begin to sing flat. That's just one example of not pacing your breath so that it's consistent right through to the end of the phrase. In the lower register, for instance, you may find that the tone sounds quieter or breathier at the end of the phrase or sentence you're singing compared to the beginning of the phrase. This is where your 5 seconds exercise proves to be a really simple but very, very powerful tool, because it teaches you to pace your breath so that you're exhaling evenly right to the end of the 5-second mark, or in the context of a song, right through until the end of the phrase. All right, in previous lessons, you've heard me encourage you to sing with a consistent flow of breath while you're singing various different solfege words. We talked about this during the do, do, so, mi, do exercise in the range extension lesson. For example, when you had to join the bottom note to the top note without pausing before each of the solfege words. The way you attack or articulate your consonants can also interrupt the flow of breath, especially if you're focusing on the individual words rather than on the phrase as a whole. So we're going to cover that during this lesson also. All right, inconsistent tone quality can also be the result of not maintaining good chord closure after the initial onset of tone, or in other words, not keeping your chords closed after the beginning or commencement of your vocal sound. I'll give you an example of an exercise that uses the NG and the E sound, where I get great chord closure on the NG sound, but then I let the chords blow apart when I sing the E sound. It goes like this. Did you hear how the tone changed in clarity and in quality when I went to the E sound? The NG was nice and clear and resonant because I had my chords closed, while the E sound was breathy and less resonant due to the fact that I'd let my chords blow apart. So another cause of inconsistent tone is, of course, tension. Tension in the neck or throat muscles can also cause the muscles to shake, much like they do when you're trying to hold your arms out from your body for long periods of time. As the muscles fatigue, they begin to shake. And of course, if we're talking about the muscles that surround your voice box, such as the neck, throat, tongue, and jaw muscles, which, as we know, when they're tense, they affect the correct vocal muscles, then the shaking caused from that tension and fatigue will directly affect the evenness or consistency of your vocal tone. And just on that note, if you are consistently working through tension in those areas, allow your body time to go through a transitional period where those muscles are learning to perform in new ways. For instance, if you've been singing with tension for long enough that it's become a habit, both mentally and physically, there's going to be some conflict that goes on when you introduce a new technique that requires those muscles to relax. Most often, when you begin introducing these new techniques, your brain is saying, relax, while your muscles are still holding on to the memory that they have to be tense. So there may be this little tug of war going on during this transitional period where your voice is shaky due to that. But don't let it affect your understanding that with time and practice, you will achieve the results you're after. So don't give up. Keep focused and continue implementing the correct techniques over and over that will help you free up your voice from tension. The amazing thing about your body is that it will quickly develop a muscular memory for things that you do repeatedly. This is natural, which is great. And it's also wonderful because it means that you can program and reprogram your body to learn new techniques and actions whenever and wherever necessary, just by doing things repetitively. That's why regular and consistent practice is so essential to your vocal development. All right, so weak placement is another cause of inconsistent tone. Ultimately, when we're singing, all vowels should be resonating at the front of the face, whether that be in our lower jaw for the lower notes or at the top of our heads when we sing the high notes, which is when we apply more of the forward focus technique we talked about during the last lesson on range extension. If only some of your vowels are resonating or vibrating at the front of your face and head and others aren't, there's a noticeable difference in the quality of sound that you produce, and the sound simply won't carry or project evenly and efficiently. In a moment, we're going to have a look at an exercise that uses various different vowel sounds to expose the vowels which are resonating clearly for you and those that aren't. All right, now that we've covered the causes of inconsistency in your vocal tone, let's get straight into exercise 1 and take a look at how we can steady our placement to create a more consistent tone while we're singing.